It's exactly 26 minutes to 4 in the afternoon on Friday, the 17th of May this year. A deep-sea vessel called MFV Armana issues a mayday call. Another boat, the MFV Lepanto, is sinking off the Cape Coast.
Op die een oomblik was ek nog op die skip, die ander oomblik toe lê ek in die water en spartel vir my lewe. Al dit so gou gebeur.
𝗃𝗄𝗃𝗀 is one of 20 crew on board the Lepanto, a fishing trawler owned by the company cie𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗴𝗆. He's one of just 9 survivors who jumped overboard and clung to a life raft.
Daar was eers kans om life jackets, al was so gou 5 minute. Dus alles oor.
The remaining 11 crew trapped inside the vessel are heard crying for help as it disappears below the surface. Now the subject of an investigation, the Lepanto tragedy has left nearly a dozen families grieving for loved ones lost at sea. Their hopes for closure frustrated by uncertainty over whether their bodies will ever be retrieved. Crews on deep-sea fishing trawlers spend days, weeks at sea, braving the elements. It's a hard job, risking life and limb, and safe return is never guaranteed. 𝗃𝗄𝗃𝗀𝗃 worked for cie𝗿𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗆 as a deckhand on the Lepanto for 11 years, forming a deep connection with his fellow crew.
Ek kan dit nie beskryf, maar ons was soos 'n familie, elke dag saam. Ons is die 20 is elke trip is die 20 saam met mekaar.
𝗀𝗄𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 left his home on the west coast and signed up for the fishing life at just 17.
En het vir my gesê hy wil nou begin werk, hy wil nou see toe gaan. Het ek al die kinies kare geskop om hom gesê het, maar my hart is hier vir jou om op die see te werk. Maar toe het ek vir die Here gevra. En die Here het vir my kalmte gegee en ek het hom maar die eer gegee dat hy gegaan het.
𝗀𝗄𝗃𝗀𝗃, who had a close relationship with his 2 sisters, worked as a deckhand on the Lepanto for 5 years.
As hy so van die see afgekom het, sal hy altyd unexpected opdag by my. Ek het hom te kwaad sê.
Hy was baie lief vir diere.
Ja.
Vriendelike man.
The last time 𝗀𝗄𝗃's family saw him alive was when he left for Cape Town's harbour on the Tuesday before the tragedy. The Lepanto left Cape Town port at 10 to 10 on the 14th of May with 20 crew on board, including 𝗀𝗄𝗃 and 𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃. According to 𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, the vessel soon experienced engine trouble and had to return to port barely 24 hours later.
Wala problem op die main engine, soos hulle moet nog gesê het, as dit was die fuel timing van die skip.
Hier is die skip nog op die slip, ons wag nog om te laat sak.
This video is taken from the deck of the Lepanto while it was being maintained in Cape Town Harbour. After 14 hours on the slipway, the Lepanto returned to sea at 8 minutes past 4 on that Thursday afternoon.
Ons het die donderdag aan, daar is omtrent 9 uur wat die kaptein vir ons uitroep om te sê ons gaan nou eers weer skiet, om te kyk of alles reg is, of die engine nog die kraag het om te tou.
Shooting refers to sending the fishing gear to the seabed. At 2 p.m. on Friday, the 17th of May, the captain ordered that the trawl doors be shut. Minutes later, disaster struck.
Ek was seker nog nie af by die trappies wat ek kom aan die portside en toe sien ek net die gaan lê die skip. Ek sê nog vir myself, kom nou, ek het net gevoel, een gryp my van agteraf en net ruk my toe op en hy sê, Rico, hier gaan die skip gaan val en toe hy al klaar is in die marspaal taxi water en koef. Toe lê die skip op sy een kant.
𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀's recollection of those last chaotic minutes is sketchy. He was overcome with shock, but he says he heard nothing out of the ordinary in the minutes before the ship went down. At least one of the crew could not swim.
Hy het gesê, na Nee, ouwens was zo right. Ik kan niet zo de maken net zo. En toen gaat hij af de eerste keer, dan kom hij weer op. Toen gaat hij net, daar gaat hij strijd af en dat wordt hem nooit weer gezien. Oh, ik kan het gewoon nog hij laatste keer, want hij 3 keer, 6 keer, hij jaren, mami, ja, jaren. Dus alles doodstil. Dus alles doodstil. Dus ja, niks meer geskreëerd.
One would think being able to swim is key to surviving an accident at sea, but the internationally recognized certification standard required by all seafarers working on commercial vessels only teaches basic survival techniques, not how to swim. The 9 survivors were rescued by the Armana, the vessel that had issued the original Mayday.
Hello, sir. Yeah.
4 other vessels responded to a Mayday broadcast by the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, and the National Sea Rescue Institute was alerted. One of the NSRI's rescue craft left from this base at 𝗃𝗵𝗴𝗶𝗴𝗶 and headed to the Lepanto's last known location, 35 nautical miles from the coast.
When the crew got on scene, understanding that they arrived fairly close to last light and then searched into the night.
Dr. 𝗃𝗵𝗶𝗴𝗶 heads up the NSRI, staffed by dedicated volunteers.
To assist them to search at night, they obviously have floodlights on the vessel, so that's the one resource they use. They use illumination flares, so they fire a white illumination flare, very much like a distress signal. In the darkness of night, it's very difficult.
The NSRI saves hundreds of fishers in distress every year. On this mission, their crew battled the darkness, howling 40-knot winds and 4 to 6 meter swells. Most of the next of kin were notified of the incident that same evening. Marisha says her family never received a call from Sea Harvest and instead learnt of the tragedy in a message from one of 𝗀𝗏𝗋's friends.
Die tyd toe ek 'n boodskap kry, ek was nog alleen ook nog by reis. Ek het nie eens geweet hoe om te voel nie. Ek het net gedink en gevra, Here, help my nou net, laat ek, is dit nou reg wat ek lees, het ek nou verkeerd? Toe voel dit vir my bors wil toeslat.
In a statement, Sea Harvest says all the next of kin were contacted in the early hours of Saturday morning and regularly updated on the search and rescue operation. The company confirmed that a representative of the Isaacs family, as well as 𝗀𝗏𝗋's partner, were informed at their premises that he was among the 11 lost at sea. By Saturday, there was still no sign of life, not even a life jacket, just a few pieces of debris. How many days did the search continue for the Lepanto?
So about 2 days, 48 hours. So that's quite a long time.
Finding the bodies would be almost impossible.
The depth of the water out there is probably 300 meters or more, and commercial divers cannot operate at that depth. It would require very specialized equipment, remotely operated vehicles, a huge dive support vessel, costing millions of dollars every day.
On the Sunday, Sea Harvest informed the families that the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center had called off the search and that the 11 crewmen were now presumed dead. Marisha struggled to understand why.
Soos ons vrae gevra het wat die rede was, hoekom hulle so gou gestop het, is dat hulle nie die nodige resources gehad het om aan te gaan nie.
Het julle enige vrae vir die maatskappy?
Al wat ons wil weet is wat rede gebeur het en hoekom.
At a ceremony held at the docks a few days after the Lepanto went down, Sea Harvest encountered families anxious for closure. Benjamin van Wyk, whose son Jeremiah was among those lost at sea, wanted to know when the bodies would be brought to shore.
Ek wil gemoedsrus hê in my hart dat ek kan weet dat as jy nou van pad beseer, hoe lank gaan dit vat?
Jeremiah was 48 and had worked as a deckhand on the Lepanto for many years. Hoe is dit as pa om hier te sit sonder daai closure?
Ons wil ten minste hom gaan begraaf, 'n waardige begrafnis gee en elke tyd blommetjies gaan opsit.
With the families of the deceased left with so many unanswered questions, we asked 𝗃𝗃𝗵𝗃 for an interview. They agreed, but then they had a change of heart, saying the tragedy was now the subject of an investigation. That investigation is being conducted by the SA Maritime Safety Authority, which the company says is the appropriate forum to examine the facts around the incident. In a written response, 𝗃𝗃𝗵𝗃 says, "We take note of the speculation around the cause of the incident and certain unsubstantiated allegations made against the company. It says all its vessels are governed by a comprehensive and robust maintenance and servicing system, as prescribed by the authorities." It concludes by saying, "We are focused on ensuring the families of the missing crew are supported during this challenging time." SAMHSA is trawling for answers about the Lepanto. Meanwhile, the families of 11 men are without bodies, without answers, and without much hope. While SAMHSA attempts to establish the facts around the sinking, a police investigation is also underway into the unnatural deaths of the 11 crew. It means the survivors will have to relive those final chaotic moments as their colleagues cried for help before disappearing beneath the waves.